Welcome back to the channel. Warhammer Man back in the studio, and we knew it was coming, but it's finally here. Time to devour some biomass. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe for Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team Necromunda, Age of Sigmar, and warcry content as well. Everything from reactions, reviews, and news to all kinds of painting, modeling, conversion tutorials. That being said, let's jump right in. The new Tyranid Codex is coming, so get your first look at its awesome cover art. So here we see some pretty cool Tyranid art right here. A shadow is looming over warhammercommunity.com. The chittering can only mean one thing. The Tyranids are on their way. Teeming hordes of fanged horrors will soon descend, and alongside their spores, claws, and biological weapons, they're bringing a brand new codex with them. So here we see the Tyranid Codex getting ready to come out. Looks pretty thick. Nobody embodies the ferocity and strength of the Hive fleet better than the Hive Tyrant, which takes pride of place on the awe-inspiring cover. An oppressive rain of spores and flying bioforms blankets the background, blocking out the sun and perfectly encapsulating the overwhelming horror of a Tyranid invasion. So once again, pretty awesome art. Definitely like a sick, just that's what you would picture with a crazy Tyranid invasion. Some warriors, some like hormigants here in the front, and then obviously a pretty awesome Hive Tyrant right there. Very nice art. I love this. Inside the book, you'll find fully updated rules for the Tyranids and their key Hive fleets, as well as background information leading from their first contact with mankind right up to the present day's apocalyptic Octarian War. Despite the Imperium best efforts, Hive Fleet Leviathan runs rampant, and it seems that not even the largest orc empire in the galaxy can stop them. So here we see, obviously, a crazy setup right here. Absolute insanity as some Tyranids attack an orc world. Again, this is a very, very interesting picture, too, because we know for sure Games Workshop typically does not like to use other people's stuff. They will almost always show off only their own exclusive like terrain models, etc., especially in like books and like print. And we're seeing here some stuff that we've never seen before. Obviously, the like trees and stuff are Games Workshop terrain we've seen before, but like this little orc bit of like a shanty town right here, it's possible some of this could be conversion stuff. But even that, they don't typically show off. Sometimes you'll see it here and there in pictures, but overall, they usually show off stuff that they want you to be able to buy. Now, I have some 3D printed stuff that I've made that's pretty similar to this. Like I printed off that I got like free prints for, etc. And then one where it's like this 3-piece right here. But again, they don't like showing off. They're not going to show off other people's like 3D print stuff that you can go out and get and encourage you to get stuff from somewhere else. So this tells me that there is a high likelihood that we're probably going to see something like this, like the three big like spikes right here, and then the 3 pieces together right here with kind of like a mouth opening there. So complete speculation, but I have a feeling we're going to get like some kind of crazy, terrain piece / possibly fortification type deal for the Tyranids. We've already seen a couple pictures. Obviously the new webway gate or the old webway gate in the Eldar stuff. But we've seen a couple pictures where they have like the weird walkway with like the eldari look. Again, here we see more of those like spike things. There's like some art stuff in the background, but we see this is clearly like some kind of new piece of terrain or something. So I have a feeling we're going to see something like that popping up here soon and possibly available in the near future. So as befits a new codex, there will be a wealth of rules, content from stratagems and warlord traits to Hive Fleet adaptations and the return of synaptic link abilities. You'll also be able to take your fleet on a crusade campaign of its own, and while we can't say anything about the specifics just yet, it's safe to say you'll be doing the complete opposite of any local Tau Empire players. So obviously talking about combat. Now I can't quite tell what this looks like the meiotic spore right here. So that's already available. But again, here we see this piece sticking up here. We see this one sticking up here. And we see this one sticking up here. Now these look almost exactly like and again, one more right here. They look almost exactly like the 3D printed pieces that I have. That I found online. On like Thingiverse and printed out. But these look slightly more detailed. So I don't think they're the exact same pieces. but I have a feeling Games Workshop's going to be releasing its own, which would make sense. So we'll be having a look inside the upcoming Codex in the weeks to come, so keep your eyes peeled. So obviously probably going to do something similar to like the Path of Preview that they did for Eldar, where they're basically like bouncing back and forth and showing them off, in little articles talking about the different Hive fleets or the different models. But this definitely has me curious about these. So obviously we know the Codex is coming. We don't know when. But I'm going to go ahead and move into another article that was just released as well, which is the Get Ready to Gorge on the Galaxy with a Combat Patrol Tyranids. So we had a feeling, obviously, we're getting new combat patrols for everyone. They have pretty much removed all of the start collecting boxes. They're basically down to like the Imperial Guard, and this one is pretty much gone now too. So at this point in time, it's pretty obvious that the next combat patrol will be the Guard, but we'll look at that into the future. But here we have for the Tyranids. Earlier today, we unveiled the incredible new Tyranid Codex, but you can't devour an entire galaxy without some hungry mouths to feed. Fortunately, the Norn Queens have been hard work splicing together a new combat patrol box, which is ideal whether you're brand new to the Tyranids or have been on board since Hive Fleet Behemoth was first sighted. So here we have the combat patrol, first official look. So model count, very nice, 43 models in the set. Looking at it here, we see a ton of termagants. We see 3 Tyranid warriors, and then we see a Hive Tyrant. And then obviously the Hive Tyrant can make either a regular Hive Tyrant on foot, a Swarmlord, or a flying Hive Tyrant. All from the same kit. And then you have a ton of options for the warriors as well. And a decent amount of various gun options for the termagants. So let's take a look here, and then I'll give you guys my opinion on this. Leading the force into battle is the mighty Hive Tyrant. This terrifying leader beast is literal combat monster who can use insidious telepathic abilities to support the core units in your army, such as the Tyranid warriors and termagants that accompany it in the box. Clearly all part of the Hive Mind's design. So here we see the variant with the flying Hive Tyrant, and obviously we saw the standing Hive Tyrant variant already. And again, we see all these spike bits right here. And these are definitely not the 3D printed ones. You can tell by the amount of detail. The 3D printed ones do not have nearly this much detail. And again, I've never seen this kind of like weird flower thing. But we saw this stuff all positioned together basically to create like that little spire. So I think it's fairly safe to assume that these are coming. They're showing them in every picture. The Hive Tyrant can be equipped with a variety of grotesque bioweapons for melee and range combat, allowing you to build a monster adapted to dealing with any foe. You can even build the kit as a winged Hive Tyrant or the fearsome Swarmlord. So again, that kit allows you to build all 3 of those, which is awesome. They are all very good. I mean, typically I would build either the Swarmlord or the flying Hive Tyrant. Swarmlord is awesome and has like the boomerang ability to like double move one of your units. I don't know if that's going to stay the same or whatever. But then obviously the flying Hive Tyrant can kind of show up anywhere with wings, has some immediate psychic support, and is pretty fearsome overall. So very, very strong in the Tyranid army. Every self-respecting Hive Tyrant needs a swarm to command, and the Combat Patrol box provides you with a whopping 36 termagants plus 3 Ripper swarms. So each box comes with enough Rippers to build a swarm as well. Even the renowned tactician Reboot Guilliman has to concede that the quantity has a quality all of its own. And again, we're seeing tons and tons of these like spire pieces. Scuttling predators that can be armed with several different ranged bioweapons. Termagants are ideal for controlling objectives in your territory or swarming over enemy units foolish enough to try and hold them in midfield. Plus wait until you see their upgraded flesh borers can do. So sounds like we have some new rules for flesh borers. Previously, the devourers are the way to go. They were a points upgrade. You had to pay a little more for them, but they were just absolutely ridiculous. And a massive unit, like with the double shoot rule, could just dish out a ridiculous. It was like 120 shots, something crazy. So the box also contains 3 Tyranid warriors, perfect for helping the Hive Tyrant direct your termagants towards their prey. Strong, swift, and amongst the Hive Mind's most adaptable breeds. No invasion would be complete without these intelligent bioforms to anchor the swarm. So they basically have like the synapsis ability, so they allow you to like keep the swarm kind of like in check. Tyranid warriors are a pretty integral part of any Tyranid army. As with the Hive Tyrant, the Tyranid warriors can be engineered for almost any purpose. Give them bone swords, scything talons, or rending claws to tear your enemies apart in melee. A gun them down at range with living weaponry like devourers, death spitters, or powerful barbed strangler or venom cannon. The new Tyranid Combat Patrol will be out soon, but the Eldari, Grey Knights, and Thousand Sun boxes are coming even sooner. We'll be taking a look at some of the other rules from the Tyranid Codex as we build up to its release. So obviously they're going to do like that same type of thing as last time. But it looks like, so they said the Eldari, Grey Knights, and Thousand Sun boxes will come even sooner. So we've already heard about that. We know that the Grey Knights and Thousand Suns boxes are coming next, and the Eldari will be the following month. So I believe they said March on those. So that is interesting. Definitely exciting to see those coming in the near future. So now let's take a look at the actual Combat Patrol and what do I think here. So the previous Combat Patrols were 140. We know that the price increases are kicking in. I haven't jumped over to the site yet to see what they went up to, but again, I'm assuming it's probably going to be, they said 5% on most stuff, or 10% on books and stuff. I would expect this Combat Patrol to go up to like 150, possibly as high as 165, or all Combat Patrols. So I'll have to jump over and see if the price effects are already on the site and everything, if it just popped right up. But I would expect it right around that point. My opinion on this box, it's nice that there's 43 models in it. That's obviously very cool. It seems like lately, the way the codexes are constructed and the way the meta has kind of shifted, that swarms and, mass body armies are not really the way to go. So this seems like counterintuitive for what we've sort of seen in like the meta and everything lately. Armies like, orcs that used to be like a swarm army and you would take a ton of boys, have kind of moved away from that, and now it's more like transports and more like heavy hitters. We have seen that the Crusher Stampede was like one of the stronger armies for the Tyranids. So that's obviously just a bunch of big monsters. And, even with the Termagants, the best options have been to take the upgraded points for the Devourers and have less guys, but big units of them, and then just super buff those units. So I don't know, maybe the new Codex will move back to swarms. I kind of like the idea of not having like 100 models in your army, just because it takes so long to move and play and do everything. It requires like movement trays or just tons of time moving. So if the Combat Patrol ideally is, like a quarter of an army. I mean, you kind of picture like the Combat Patrol is like your 500 point kind of army. Maybe there's more than 500 points in this box right here, but if you say roughly that's a quarter to a third of an army, I mean, if you bought 3 Combat Patrols, which I'm not saying would be a good idea, you're talking about like, 130 models? That's pretty ridiculous. That's a lot of bros. So, I don't know. We'll see how the composition works out in the actual armies and everything. Again, here on the box, we see all those pieces. So, again, that confirms there's no way these are like third-party bits or like 3D printed. These are definitely something that's going to be available, in my opinion. So, looking at this box, value-wise, it's probably a pretty good deal. You're basically, you're probably saving pretty decent on this, because the typical amount of Termagants that you would get is 12 in a set, and then each one includes enough bits to make the Ripper Swarm. So assuming those are like $50 a piece, that's $150. That's probably the price of the Combat Patrol. And then on top of that, you're getting like the Hive Tyrant and the Warriors, which are probably going to be around $60 for each of those kits for free. So you're probably saving about $100, $120 buying this set. You get a ton of extra bits also, so you're going to have a lot of like cool conversion bits and extra stuff, etc. Overall, it looks like it's a pretty good deal. Composition wise, I don't understand why they didn't do 2 sets of Termagants and 1 set of Hormagants. I'm not sure that most people are going to take 36 Termagants in their army. And also, I'm not sure that this is going to really be like appealing for people to buy more than one of. And maybe that's their goal. They want you to buy this to start with and then add on separate units. They don't want you buying a bunch of these. But this is similar to like the Death Guard set, where they just gave you a ton of Poxwalkers, more than probably anyone will ever field, to kind of get the model count up. And then also, compare this box to something like the Grey Knights box. The Grey Knights box, you get, 12 models in? And this you get 43. So imagine you got 2 new players. One buys the Grey Knights box and gets 12 models. The other buys the Combat Patrol Tyranids and gets 43 models. I mean, who's going to feel like they got the better deal on that one? Now, value-wise, I think this has more value in it than the Grey Knights box, but just for comparison, it's like, how are two players buying these combat patrols going to match up against each other? I mean, maybe the Grey Knights can easily just deal with this. I don't know. It just seems like you could bog them down with so many termagants that there's not much they could do about it. You eat up all the like psychic power, mortal wounds. Tyranids have pretty strong psychic powers themselves, and then they bog you down with a bunch of these dudes, and then charge in and swat your Grey Knights with the big boys. So I don't know. It's interesting choice once again on composition for these. I'm not sure what their criteria are when they build these combat patrols. I don't know what they go by. Do they just go by what they have a bunch of in stock to move the stock? Do they look at actual composition or how someone would build an army? Again, I haven't seen the new Codex. So maybe in the new Codex, every army is going to want to have, 36 gaunts. I honestly don't know. I do like the idea that you could potentially take these. I mean, I would imagine they're going to be elites, but if you take like a Tyranid Prime or something like that, which you can build out of the Tyranid warriors, you could maybe take that as an HQ, and then you have the Hive Tyrant or Swarmlord as HQ, and then you have 3 troops, and then you basically have a battalion right out of the box. That would be awesome if that's a possibility. I like the idea of having a battalion immediately out of the box, or maybe just having to buy like one additional HQ. I think that's great. So I do like that there's 3 12-man troops here. I would rather see a little bit more diversity, but you could also obviously run these as big squads of like 20 or more termagants. So you can maybe just turn this into 2 giant squads and then add on some more stuff. It's interesting. It seems like pretty good value. I'll have to kind of check back as we see the price increases, as we start to see like unit composition and what seems to be strong in the Tyranid Codex. But first look, right off the bat, the truth is, it just seems like a ton of gaunts, that maybe aren't the best thing. And again, maybe they're going to go back to like the swarm and, having just mass amounts of bodies. But the new Orc Codex has come out, and the Orcs were previously like a swarm type army, and they went away from that. It's obviously not the direction based on like composition and codexes that they want. They don't want people taking 120 boys anymore. They made that very clear with, points and stats and everything like that. So it seems strange that maybe they're going to go that direction with Tyranids, or maybe they're not. And this box just doesn't quite fit the army, but we'll have to wait and see. Again, complete speculation for now. We haven't seen any of the new rules. We haven't seen anything about composition or anything like that. But to me, it just seems like it's great that there's a ton of bodies in this, and it definitely feels like more value when you get 43 models in one of these combat patrols as opposed to like 12. But the truth is, actual army composition or the ability to like purchase multiples of these, I don't think most people are going to buy 2 combat patrol Tyranids. I don't think most people. I mean, you definitely could run a Swarmlord and a Flying Hive Tyrant. You could definitely use 6 warriors or 5 warriors and a Tyranid Prime. But I just don't think most people are going to use 72 gaunts and 6 Ripper Swarms. Like, the Ripper Swarms are good. You probably would use those. And again, those can be taken in units of 3. But maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Because they don't even have those as like a unit. They have them boxed up with the gaunts. So maybe they're going to be part of a gaunt squad now. Maybe they will still be a separate unit that you can take in groups of 3. And that's why they did it. I don't know. Complete speculation at this point in time. But does seem a little strange as far as composition. Obviously, as things develop, as we get more of the rules, as we find out about the composition and everything, maybe things will change. But in my opinion, I like the idea of big 40K not being a game where people are showing up with 150 or 200 models in a big game. Just for like the amount of time it takes, like physically, every turn to move 100 guys just slows down the game immensely. And I've been involved in multiple tournaments before, in tons and tons of editions over time, and there's been many, many times where I played against or with a swarm army, and time was a huge issue, especially when you're limited time or on like, a clock, on the chess clock or whatever. I played against an orc player before who had like 120 models and insisted that he moved all his models himself and measured literally where every guy goes and just completely burned through the clock and basically got nothing done. I don't like to see that. I like the game to be fun and play and get to go through all your turns and everybody gets to finish. And it just doesn't tend to happen when people are showing up with like 150 or 200 models. So, part of my big problem with big 40K is that the games can take so long. You don't want to go meet up with your buddy and, make an 8-hour day out of like a game, because you have to basically like set aside an entire day to go and set up and play and have fun. So to me, I hope they don't bring back like the giant swarm armies and everything, especially for like the sake of tournaments. But we'll see. Maybe this is just the composition of the Combat Patrol box and it's not going to be that viable. But I like to think that, they're going to put these together in a way that's fun. But we have seen the Thousand Suns box has 20 Zangors in it. We have seen the Death Guard box has 30 Poxwalkers in it. So maybe that is a direction they're trying to go in, where they just have like a couple of massive swarm armies. I hope that's not the case though, because I like to finish games. I like to have fun, and having too many models is not fun for anyone. So, but that being said, super excited. Definitely cool to see all the new codexes kind of rolling out one after another. And then, obviously new combat patrols for everyone as well. I think it's pretty safe to assume that if you want a Tempestus Scions Start Collecting box, or Imperial Guard, or Astra Militarum Combat Patrol, Start Collecting box, you have very limited time to get them. Because at this point in time, the Tyranid box was the only one left, with the exception of those two. So assuming the Tyranid box is going to be gone, or is already gone, if you want Tempestus Scions or you want Astra Militarum, better get them while you can. And it's very, very safe to assume that after this Tyranid Codex, that will be the next Codex. We will see some probably new units, new models, and a new Combat Patrol for the Guard as well. We don't know what that's going to look like. Is it going to be a blend of Astra Militarum and the Tempestus Scions? Is it going to be one or the other? Is there going to be something new in there? Complete speculation, but we will soon see. So, but that's it for today. Let me know what you think. What do you think about the new Spires? Is that going to be some terrain or some sort of like living kind of piece that you can take in your army? Do you think there's too many gaunts? Do you think it's the right amount of gaunts? Would this be good for you if you didn't have a Tyranid army already? But if you already do, maybe you don't need 36 new gaunts. I'm definitely curious. Do you feel like this is a value? Are you going to pick one up? Are you excited for the NIDs? What do you want to see in the new Codex that would make it more fun? Would it be cool if there was one, like Leviathan is going to be like a total swarm army, and then maybe like Kraken is going to be more big bugs? Do you want to see like that different kind of composition for the, different dedications? Or do you want to kind of see like just general rules that affects everybody? I'm definitely curious to hear everyone's opinion. Is this it for Crusher Stampede, and now it's on to the Codex, and that will invalidate the Crusher Stampede rules? That's it for today, though. Let me know what you think down below. Obviously, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of speculation, news, reaction, review videos. Obviously, do all kinds of unboxings as well, painting and modeling tutorials. And then, of course, we're a commission-based studio, so we show off all the commissions as they come out of the studio. If you enjoy this type of content, make sure to like and subscribe. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm out of here.